Is India's Air Force better than China's? It appears everyone in the world has started believing that China is the new superpower in the world, rivaling the United States. Some even talk with a certain degree of authority, that China will win a war with the US, on a direct combat, between just the two nations. Based on the available data, on both military strength and economic prowess, China has a long way to go, to beat the United States. Though the United States is currently mired with financial troubles, and neck-deep debt, but China has a bigger corporate debt, a few feet above its head. However, we are not trying to compare the US with China. Our comparison is between the Indian Air Force with the Chinese Air Force, called PLAAF, or People's Liberation Army Air Force. According to a report published by the World Directory of Modern Military Aircraft, WDMMA, the Indian Air Force is better than the Chinese Air Force. In fact, the Indian Air Force is ranked third in the world, among the 98 nations covered by the WDMMA. The US, which enjoys the top position, maintains a wide lead over its nearest competitor Russia, and India is in third position, beating China, which is fourth. Being third on the list, India also beat the Israeli Air Force, Japanese Self-Defense Air Force, as well as the British and French Air Forces. Do you wonder how did the global agency, WDMMA, come up with the rankings? Here is what we know. The WDMMA uses a formula, which takes into account values related to total fighting strength of the various air services of the world. The formula produces an index, called the True Value Rating, or TVR. There are several parameters that are taken into account, in coming up with the TVR, including modernization, logistical support, attack and defense capabilities, among other things, and not merely overall strength, or quantity. So, the inventory of the aircrafts, their air power, and of course their numbers, are part of the calculation. This qualitative assessment, though is generally accepted as a good measure, can still be subject to debate. The current WDMMA ranking consists of 98 countries being tracked, and 47,840 total aircrafts being followed. The highest TVR score of 242.9 is held by the US Air Force, followed by Russian Air Force at 114.2, and Indian Air Force with a score of 69.4. The Chinese Air Force came in fourth with a TVR score of 63.8. What makes the Indian Air Force superior to the Chinese Air Force? The Indian Air Force has been in a modernization course for the past few years, especially after 2014. The Indian military assessed the threat from China and believed that the Air Force will be a crucial factor in deciding who will win a potential war between the two Asian giants. Though the Chinese Navy is believed to be superior to the Indian Navy, the Chinese naval power has very less to zero possibility of making a difference in a Sino-Indian war. The Chinese ships need to come a long way across South China Sea, in hostile waters. On top of that, the Indian Navy will be well positioned to welcome the Chinese ships, with a barrage of bombardment, as they come through the narrow strip of the Malacca Strait. As far as the Chinese army is concerned, it needs to come across the high Himalayan mountains, to enter into the Indian territory. Though China has better road infrastructure on their side, the Indian soldiers are very well trained in mountain warfare, much better than the Chinese soldiers. Also, the Indians have been improving their road infrastructure at a breakneck pace recently. This leaves the Air Force, the third branch of military unit. It almost goes without saying, whoever has a better Air Force will win the war between India and China. That's why the Indians spent a lot of money upgrading their Air Force, in the past 6 years or so, purchasing powerful fighters, multi-role and transport aircrafts, from Russia, France, and the US, and customized to their specific needs, and armed further, with Israeli-built bunker-busting bombs. India also wanted to rapidly manufacture these top-end aircrafts domestically, and so they ensured there will be transfer of technology, from the nations they imported these aircrafts. With a large pool of talented technical experts, engineers, fighter pilots and skilled workforce, India quickly got better equipped in utilizing the knowledge transfer effectively. Indian pilots are trained in flying multiple aircrafts made in many nations, including the indigenously produced ones, giving them an edge due to their extreme versatility. The Chinese Air Force, on the other hand, has a larger inventory, but mostly locally made, that ran into several incidents. The Chinese aircrafts have not been tested in any real war, and has scored low in international evaluations. That's the reason why the Indian Air Force ended up in a higher position against China and others. Thanks for watching.